Hello everyone. Today we'll be learning about population, the definition of population, what it is, sample, its definition, examples, population parameter, and sample statistics. So let us get into the definitions of population. So population is the entire group of individuals, items, or observations that you want to study in a research or analysis. Right? So generally, what is population? It includes each and every member that you are or group that you are talking about. For example, if I'm doing a population study and I'm studying about mean age of people in India, mean age of India's population. And if I go and do a census study, right, of each and every Indian citizen and find out that 36 years is the average age of Indians, right? Since I've taken each and every member of the population, right? Population, right? So I've taken each and every member of the population into account. This this India's population is what? My total population. Suppose I'm doing a study of maybe salaries of employees of a company, right? Salaries of employees of a company. If I take all employees of that company, all employees of the company, this will be called as population, right? One more example we can take. So population does not mean people only, right? So population could be anything, the objects as well that we are going to study. Suppose I say uh, uh, I'm I'm talking about maybe uh, products sales sold by a company, by a retailer maybe, right? And when I talk about products, so a retailer may have 15,000, 20,000 SKUs on the shop, right? So if I take all the products into account, all 15 to 20,000 products or SKUs that they keep into account, that is population, right? So each and every product of the retailer is considered here. So that's why it is called population, right? So let's go back to our definition and examples, right? So it includes each and every member of the group. It is usually large and often not possible to measure completely, right? So like in the first example, I was going for each and every Indian citizen. Very big exercise to do, costly, time taking, and often not possible for, if a company is doing this analysis, very costly or time taking for them to actually do this, right? Examples of population could be, if I'm studying about a school, if I take all the students of that school, that's a population. All students in a school, right? All customers of a company, all products manufactured in a day, right? These are examples of population. Now sample. So sample is a small part of the population that is selected for the study or research, right? So for example, from this population only, suppose I was studying about mean age of Indian citizens. Instead of Indians, all Indian citizens, I can go for only people living in Bangalore. What is the average age? I find it to be 38 years. So what we are talking about, not entire India, but part of India, that is Bangalore city, right? So this will be called as a sample, right? If I'm taking salaries of employees, instead of taking all employee salary, I'll just take salaries of employees in tech department, right? So instead of taking all employees in the company, I've taken just employees from tech department. So this is the sample of that entire organization or the company, right? In this example, I was taking 15 to 20,000 all products into account for my research. Instead of taking all products, what I'll take is around, maybe I'll just take maybe grocery department products only. Grocery department products from the entire store. Not all the products, right? So I'll leave all other departments. So this grocery department is a sample of the entire retail store this company has, right? So these are examples of samples. I'll show you some table which can have more examples on this, and then you can understand better. So this is the table, right? So students in a school. If I take all 1200 students, there are 1200 students in the school, and I take all 1200 of them to study something about them. This is a population. But I take only a sample or a small 120 students group from 1200. This is a sample. Employees in a company, if there are 500 employees, I take all 500 of them, it is population, but I take only 50 employees, it is a sample, right? If I go to this one, household in a city, all household in the city versus only 1000 households selected randomly, right? University graduates, all students graduating this year, right? Versus only 200 students sampled from the graduated students, right? So there is a sample, right? Users of a mobile app, if I take all the users of the app, that is population. But if I take only 2000 users, that is sample, right? Trees in a forest, all trees in the forest is a population, but I take randomly 100 trees for the study, that is a sample. So I hope you get the difference between sample and population, right? Next topic is parameter, right? Parameter and statistic, right? So what is a parameter? Parameter is a numerical value with which we are trying to actually describe the population. Like in my previous example, I was trying to describe the population by mean age, average age of population in India, right? Or citizens in India, it was found to be 36 years. So this is average age. So this average age or mean age is called parameter, because I am talking about entire population of India. So whenever I talk about some numerical measure to measure something about the entire population, that numerical measure is called parameter, right? And whenever I talk about the measure of a sample, like average age of people in Bangalore, right? So I'm not my now my population is India's total population. Out of that, I'm taking only Bangalore, right? So this average age, this suppose it comes out to be 38 years, right? So this particular numerical value of average age, right? This is called statistic, not a statistics, it is statistic, right? So whenever numerically I define my sample, right, that numerical value or measure is called statistics. But if I talk about a numerical measure for the population, it is called as parameter, right? So for example, let me show you some table around this which can explain this in detail, right? So yeah, there is the table. So height of students, if I say average height of all students in the school, right, whatever may be the value, this average height will be a population parameter, because I'm talking about all the students in the school, right? But if I take only average height of 50 selected students from all the students in the school, it will be called as statistic, right? So average height will be called as statistic. Customer satisfaction score, right? So percent of all customers who are satisfied, right? All customers of a company, that will be, so percent of customers or percent, this percent is a population parameter, right? But when I talk about sample, percent of 200 surveyed customers who were surveyed, right? and whatever percent is the customer satisfaction, that will be called as statistic. Why? Because this is for a sample, not all the customers, right? Exam scores, so average scores of all the students in a class, right? So class becomes a population, and we are talking about average score. This average score is a parameter, population parameter, right? Average score of only 10 students in a class, right? That is a sample from all the students, right? So what we are talking about, average score becomes the sample statistic, right? So when we define numerically about a population, that metric or measure is called population parameter, right? When we define sample with a number or measure, that measure is called sample statistics. It is just terminology, right? When we talk about population, call it as parameter. When we talk about sample, call it statistic, right? And this will help you later when you go into theorems or book readings, right? This will help you in differentiating what is a population parameter and what is a sample statistic. Yeah. So meet you in the next video. Thank you.